What's up, podcast? Welcome back to another episode of the House Show. So in today's episode, I will be sharing one of the most FAQ questions that we get all the time. So it is, how do we actually choose in between the so-called condominiums and landed property? Before we get into details, let me just briefly explain a little bit what is actually a condo, or what is actually a high-rise, and what is actually the so-called landed, and what kinds of landed do we have, and what kinds of these high-rise do we have in the market. If you are just started looking for your first house in this market and you are not really familiar with what is a high-rise and what is a landed property, so in this video I'll be sharing with you my experience regarding this, and hopefully this little video might bring some value to you. Without further ado, let's go. So the first point of this episode would be a landed property. So what kinds of landed property do we have? The most basic landed property we can get is single story terrace. So terrace house means that I'll just insert the pictures right here, blocking my face, and then basically means every house is connected in a row. That's what we call a single terrace. If single terrace is too small for you, but you have quite tight budget, then you can consider going for a double story terrace, which is quite a common house in our current market. Technically it's 2-story connected in a row, double story terrace. We have bungalows. I don't have to explain much about bungalows, am I right? So semi-Ds, it's how should I say, a semi-D is actually that there's one wall connected to your neighbor, only one wall connect. So if it's a terrace house, that will be 2 walls connecting to your neighbors. Assuming you are not the corner units, then you have 2 walls connected lah. I think there's another kind of landed property that we have here. I think if I remember correctly, it's called a cluster kind of thing. Cluster. So it's not a COVID cluster anyway. So it's actually in a piece of land, and then 4 of the houses is actually built in the middle. Hopefully for landed property, I did make myself clear over there. And if you have any question regarding landed property, you can leave your comments right below. So let's move on to the next one, which is what I'm going to discuss with everyone here. It's high-rise. So what kind of high-rise do we have? The most basic high-rise that we have it here. So it's actually a walk-up apartment. Walk-up apartment comes with any lift. So technically, you use stairs to access to your unit instead of using a lift to access to your units. That's called a walk-up apartment. To share a little bit more of a walk-up apartment with you all. So actually, walk-up apartments, the higher the floor, actually the price might be cheaper compared to the one at lower floor. The main reason of ground floor is having a higher price compared to the higher floor is because the ground floor doesn't have to walk so much stairs, right? That's for the most basic apartment that we have. It's a walk-up apartment. So after that, we have apartments, and then service apartments, and as well as condominiums. If you are actually looking to get your first house, what kind of houses should you get? Are you having this trouble as well? Let's discuss then. How would I choose between a landed and what do you call it? High-rise. To me, I'll be choosing for this moment. I'll choose a high-rise compared to the so-called landed property. Why? Because in my opinion, I prefer much more convenience, and I do not need such a huge space for me to live. All I need is just somewhere around 700 square feet for a single person, that would be too much for me already. Because if I were to stay 70 for a single person, then that will be scary for me lah. It's not only scary to me, and then I have to do all the cleanings, I have to sweep all my car parks, I have to decorate, I have to do all the landscapings. So if actually I were to stay in a high-rise apartment, high-rise building, so be it apartments or condominiums, I wouldn't have to worry such issue anymore. First would be my safety issue, so I do not have to worry during late night. So if I were to stay in a high-rise building, that issue would be much less concern to me. I don't have to sweep all the car park spaces, or I don't have to do all the landscaping. But then, since I'm staying in a high-rise, so that means I have to pay for my maintenance fee every month. That's part of the cons for staying in a high-rise building. Everything has two sides. There's a pros and there's a cons. If you are actually planning to stay with your families in the future, like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 packs, 7 people in a family, you might actually consider landed, as you might need that huge space to cater this much people. So that's just my simple opinion, but I'm not too sure about you. To me, if you were to stay with your parents, and then all people actually likes to tanam all people actually likes to plant things If you were to stay in a high-rise, you have actually limited outdoor space. So which means the balcony Nowadays, there's some developers is actually building a unit without balcony, so that will make their units actually becomes bigger. So during periods like this, then people who is staying in a high-rise, then they feel that their units is too small, and then they feel like they want to make a change to actually get a landed property. That might be another choice to you lah. Just to share with you my point, if you actually cherish all the outdoor spaces, like you can do all your plantings, you can wash your cars very frequently. The cons of me staying in a high-rise building is actually I have to pay maintenance fee every month. So whereby if you stay in a landed property, you don't have to pay all the fees that I need, but then I get to enjoy the facilities. That's pros and cons again. If I stay in a condo, then I'll get to enjoy all the facilities, like I might get some gyms, I might get some swimming pools, and then I might have some parks and even some karaoke's. So whereby if I were to stay in this so-called landed house, then if I were to build all these things in my house, that would actually incur a lot of cost to me. I personally, at this stage of my life, I won't think of doing it because it's actually too much cost to me. The thing to mention, when you have the gym equipment in your house, you actually won't do any workouts. It's just a mental thing to me, but I'm not too sure about you. So if you were to think of actually looking into a high-rise, so what you need to take note before purchasing it is, one of the main issue is car park. So because if you get a landed property, most of the time you can park 2 cars, right? Be it side to side or front and back Okay, so most landed property covers 2 car parks. But then if for this so-called condo, it's quite hard to say. Sometimes they only provide like 1, and then sometimes they provide 2. Another thing you guys should take into consideration is the lift. I realized that some developers started to build like 2 power supply. Am I right? 2 power supply. So say they, instead of building 6 lifts in 1 power supply, they have like this, they they split it into 3 and 3. So let's say one of those 3 doesn't have electric supply, but the other 3 lift is still functioning. So to solve the issue that I just mentioned just now. So did I make myself clear? Instead of building a 6 lift with 1 power supply, so if the power supply is not working, then you all have to walk the stairs So if you're staying 10th floor, then you have to walk all the way up. And then if you want to come down, you have to walk all the way down and up again. So I guess to make a little conclusion about this topic for this episode, so what I'll say is just to meet what you want. You cherish privacy more, and then you cherish more like security, or you actually prefers more convenience, and it's up to you. It's your choice. So if you cherish more like a privacy, then probably all you have to do is just get a landed property. But then the safety-wise might not be as good as this high-rise because high-rise we normally has a few tier security okay? So that comes to an end of this episode If this is your first time watching this show, my name is James now, and if you really think that this short video has helped you, remember to give it a thumbs up and share it, and even subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.